for that. Let's learn more about this right now and crossing live to geopolitical analyst Rothfuss joining us live from Germany. Mr. Rothfuss, thank you so much for joining us so quickly with this developing story here on RT International. Russia's parliament, as you know, has approved the use of peacekeepers, so-called peacekeepers in the Donetsk and Lugansk republics. Are we calling this like a stabilization move for the situation there, or could this further inflame tensions with Ukraine and its friends in the West?
Well, for the moment, we just have to acknowledge that it's a quite critical situation because the Western allies try to avoid this situation. So in the view of the West, it seems like a confrontation, like an escalation of the situation in Ukraine. But we have to watch and see what will the situation be on the ground. When those alleged peacekeepers, this was the decision of the upper house of the Russian parliament, what will be their actions? How will they evolve their peacekeeping mission in Ukraine, in the republics of Luhansk and Donetsk? And then we will have to reassess the situation.
Mr. Rothfuss, Russia's recognition of the Donbass republics has been widely condemned in the West as illegal. Now, I'm not a constitutional lawyer. I don't even know, can Putin do what he's done by announcing the recognition of these republics as autonomous and sovereign?
Well, this is a critical issue, of course, because according to international law, there is a sovereignty of peoples. And if peoples decide to be independent and self-governing, then usually it should be expected by the international community that these moves are being respected. But of course, the independence of the People's Republics of Luhansk and Donetsk were in contrast in conflict with the constitution of Ukraine. And therefore, the Western partners see it as illegal, and Russia sees it as in accordance with international law. And therefore, on behalf of the Russian government, it was, I would say, logical, this step to recognize those republics sooner or later, as a real severe humanitarian crisis was going on in these People's Republics for over eight years now. And this, of course, is also a compelling argument. I mean, we cannot stand idly, both the West and Russia, seeing that a conflict cannot be resolved, that the Minsk Accord was not really a solution because it was not really taken serious and it was not really put into practice. So some move forth or back was necessary.
Mr. Rothfuss, I wanted to take this conversation over the pond, as Joe Biden has said that Russia's latest move, quote, constitutes an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security and foreign policy of the United States. Do you think it does pose a threat to Washington?
Well, I mean, to the United States, I think rather the accomplishment of Nord Stream 2 was a threat. It was seen like a stronger and growing, intensifying relationship in the physical realm between Russia and Germany, because gas supply to Europe through Nord Stream 2, of course, meant a deepening of that partnership, and this is against the geopolitical interests of the United States. So I rather see here the interests of President Biden threatened, and he has reached now what he was pretending to do, stopping this pipeline project, which is of greatest interest for Germany as a nation, but also for all of our consumers, the citizens in our country who have paid 100% more for gas at the end of 2021 than at the end of 2022. So for us, it's a traumatic situation, and we hope that this will not be the end of the story, because Nord Stream 2 pipeline is definitely needed by German energy markets and by German industry, power supply industries, etc.
Well, if you could log on to RT.com right now, there's an article right there on the front page talking about the future of gas prices. It Doesn't look good at all, Mr. Rothfuss. Listen, I haven't got much time, but I've got one more question for you before I let you go. Appreciate you joining us, by the way. Moscow is basically, I beg your pardon, I was going to say that Russia's point of view with potentially sending these troops to these two republics, Russia says these are peacekeepers. The UK says they're invading forces. How are people supposed to figure out really what's going on when you have these two, I guess, parallel realities?
Well, this is very difficult to figure out for the Western public, I would say, because media reporting, of course, is very important, very powerful in any kind of conflict. And if you see only the one side of the story, you cannot imagine also the suffering of the people living in those two people's republics. And yeah, therefore, it's maybe hard to understand that such peacekeeping troops can be really seen by the population itself as something really beneficial. And I would say that we need more transparency, what is going on the ground in the People's Republic. So this is something that Russia definitely should provide to the international public, that clearly can be seen what are the developments on the ground, what are the actions, how peaceful in reality, how defensive is this operation.
All right, Rainer Rothfuss, a geopolitical analyst, joining us live here on RT International. Really appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you.
Thank you.